Mr. Hercule Poirot, you fancy yourself, don't you, at solving mysteries that are too difficult for our poor thick-head British police. Let us see, Mr. Clever Poirot, just how clever you can be. Perhaps you'll find this nut too hard to crack. Look out for handover on the 21st of the month. Yours extra, A, B, C.
Oh, it's some sort of joke.
Maybe, but please remind me to inform Chief Inspector Japp.
Greetings to all you mystery-loving Sherlocks and everyone else who might enjoy a good murder mystery game. This is Kallestofeles, and today I will bring you my thoughts upon Agatha Christie's ABC Murders. Now this is going to be a longer one, so grab a cup of hot coffee or a cold one, whichever you prefer, and get seated. I will be covering the game on Linux, as always. To get started, I'm sure that for most of you the name Agatha Christie rings a bell, but not in regards to gaming. For those who are unaware, Agatha Christie is the writer who was behind the famous Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple detective novels. Regarding video games though, there has been 5 games released so far in the Agatha Christie's video game series, which are based on her novels. Though theoretically one could say that there has been only 4, as the ABC Murders has 2 separate releases. One in 2009 for Nintendo DS and one in 2016 for PC, PS4, Xbox One, Android, iOS and Mac. The latter one is the one we shall be looking at today, but I have a feeling that I will go through every one of them after I'm done talking about this one. So let's begin. Agatha Christie's ABC Murders is a linear point-and-click murder mystery adventure game developed by Artifact Studios and published by Microids in February 2016 for the aforementioned platforms. In the game, you take the role of the legendary private detective Hercule Poirot, who is accompanied by his witty sidekick Hastings. The game is very story-driven and has some gameplay issues which I shall elaborate upon soon. The story starts off as there has been a letter sent to Hercule noting that a murder is about to happen on a specific date in a specific location, but not who will be the target. So the murder does happen, and so you go to investigate if there is indeed somehow related to the letter that you received earlier. Now, I will not spoil the story for you vocally, but I will be using some video clips from the game which could be considered as spoilers, so you have been warned, but nothing to spoil the major twists in the plot. And yes, there are good ones here.
What? Gentlemen, what are you doing?
During the investigations you will encounter the main mechanics of the game. Besides just talking to people all Mass Effect style, you have stuff like observations, thinking, little grey cells and murdering construction, each being like a small minigame. In observations, you'll be simply checking out different parts of the person you're going to have a conversation with to see in what state they're currently in, making some of the conversation options more logical and open. Thinking mode is essentially a puzzle mode where you typically have an object which you can manipulate in many ways to solve the puzzle. Think of a trunk which has many locks and puzzles built into it, and you must observe and manipulate them to get it open. Then there is the little grey cells mechanic. This is where you connect all the dots and draw conclusions like Hercule Poirot or Sherlock Holmes based on the information that you have learned during your investigation. Note that some of the conclusions will make a little sense near the end of the game, as you might know what the conclusion would be, but not which elements of the information to connect to come to that conclusion. And finally, the murdering construction mechanic is exactly what it sounds like. You put together the murder scene based on the info you have and watch it play out.
Everything appears to match the crime scene, mon cher Hastings. That is exactly what happened.
Okay, now that you know what the game is about and what its main mechanics are, let's get down to business. I have plenty full of gripes, well, mostly technical, and some good things to say about the title, so bear with me. First off, when you start the game, and if it starts up at all, you will notice that something seems just not right. Yeah, the game is locked in at 30 FPS. Now you might be saying that 30 FPS for a point-and-click title is okay, and yes, when it is done right, then it is. But this time there are some issues. Namely the mouse lags, also at 30 FPS. And let me tell you, it is extremely noticeable and annoying when your mouse lags like that. Especially considering that the game relies 100% on the mouse. Yeah, you can play the whole game without ever touching the keyboard. And that is only a good thing when your mouse controls are working perfectly. And you also might have noticed that I said it if it starts up at all. Yeah, there are some Unity engine issues here as well. With this title, I could not, for an example, keep Discord or Chromium open in the background when starting up the game. Now, how random is that? Looks like it uses some part of the Chrome engine to kickstart itself, and it cannot be used if anything else is using them at the same time. In addition to that, you cannot Alt-Tab out of the game. Yeah, well, you can, but the engine somehow hogs the whole attention of your screen, meaning that even if you minimize the game somehow, you will not be able to click on anything other than the game, not to speak about moving your mouse cursor to another screen. Yes, even when the game is minimized, your mouse cursor is limited to your screen on which the game is running. To continue on the technical path of the rant, the options are really lacking of, well, anything. There is just a lonely resolution option there, and the ability to change the details between low and high. And what the game really needs is an anti-aliasing option, and it needs it badly. Sadly, there is not an option for that. You could try to force the anti-aliasing from the graphic driver settings, but let's look at it from the game's perspective for now. Besides anti-aliasing, this title could use an animator or two to make the lip sync work, as it is just as horrible as the bodily gestures that the characters make. Weird, fast actions with gestures which make no sense in the context that they are being put in. To rant a bit more about the audio's perspective, then we do have some odd mixing choices as well. Like this one, when you first start off in Bexhill. Listen to this and tell me that's not weird.
Bexhill is a delightful town. It would be nice to come back and visit.
As you can hear, it was dead silence before the characters started talking, so I thought that there was an issue with my sound system. And when they did start talking, I had cranked up the volume to max already, and as you can probably imagine, no one was really happy about it. I also noticed that there's literally one voice line missing from the game.
Are you going on holiday, mademoiselle?
Not exactly, Mr. Poirot.
Ah, très bien.
And then there are some minor issues like fountain audio not being constant, cuts off abruptly, little variety in the music, and etc. But these are all very minor things which I'm really picky about, so it's all subjective as always. On a positive note, even though the variety in the musical tracks is very much lacking, the quality of those present is just amazing. It sets the perfect mood and doesn't get on your nerves. In addition to the issues, I also encountered a very minor plot hole where you had deduced the time of the crime and then proceeded to question the suspect. Now the suspect tells you that he was somewhere else at the time and hence could not be the killer. The problem is that no one had told him that we had deduced the time of the crime yet. And that's enough with the ranting already. Let's get positive. As it is a point-and-click title, it is highly appreciated that you can double-click to make Hercule move faster. There is only so much scenery that one can enjoy at one go. The game also does an excellent job of keeping itself interesting and constantly not throwing irrelevant stuff at you. You always have a new puzzle waiting for you, and to get it solved, you don't usually need to backtrack a lot to get hints from the environment, since the game is very linear. Just keep your ears open and don't be afraid to snoop around the crime scenes. And speaking of puzzles, they are really great. You will be amazed of how many puzzles can one simple household object hold, and solving them is a real treat. You always feel like you have accomplished something. Plus, there are working mirrors everywhere. Now why are they important? Because you can enjoy looking at Hercule giving him an ego boost whilst not actually looking in the mirrors. Yeah, I know, it's a bug, but as it is somewhat funny, we can count it as a feature. So, Agatha Christie's ABC Murders. A simple yet highly enjoyable story accompanied by some technical issues, which seem to me they could have been ironed out had there been more testing/development time on the title. It is also worth mentioning, the game does not have fail states, so whatever you do, you cannot fail the game. It is more about the enjoyable mystery ride than it is about a test of quick reactions, though you need to pay a lot of attention to the dialogues, as without them you will be stuck at some conclusion puzzles for a while. Now, as I've finished the game, Steam shows me that I've clocked in 7 hours. For a linear story-driven experience, that's pretty good, and even more if you're into the murder mysteries with twists. It costs €14.99 or your regional equivalent, and is even on discounts occasionally. Now, would I recommend getting this game? If you enjoy mysteries for the story and can forgive a bit clunky technical aspects, then absolutely. I know that I will probably go through the previous titles in the series soon as well. But until then, I hope that you got some insight to the game, and if you liked this video, why not share it with your friends? This has been Kallestofeles, wishing you a happy yet a mysterious day. Bye bye.